This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be.
Through the Looking Glass. I am your co-host, your co-pilot, Scott Criscuolo. Joining me, as always, the Thunder from Down Under. We made a little thunder from Down Under via the U.S. men's soccer team, who kind of shook the Thunder down and took out my guys' national team. 2-0 the other night. Hello, Dave Wall.
Down, but we're down, but we're not out yet. At the time of recording, we're actually still favoured to get through to the next round. So
good,
we'll just
good. I want that.
So,
I want that.
But
I want you to go to the next round.
Let's put some things into perspective. So
Sure.
Now, look, I don't really watch the game, but let's put some things into perspective. Soccer is a game about putting the ball into the goal. It's a 1-1 draw because the Aussies scored an own goal. We put the ball into the goal once. You put the ball into the goal once. That's a 1-1 draw. On a serious note, for all our American fans, I will acknowledge my Aussie boys did not play well in that game. Did not deserve to win. I'm not going to arc up about penalties or decisions or whatever. They deserve to lose. From everything I understand, they didn't play well. I'll give it to you. Congratulations. You can have that one, and we'll beat you in other sports.
That's true.
That are played on a global basis. So we're not talking about the basketball world championships and Olympics. So we all know that America only win that. We're talking about real sports like the rugby union World Cup and
Yes. Well, and also Dave, for you and I personally, you have had my number between your 49ers and my Cowboys.
Yes.
So you have had my number, and we play again this year in week 8 or 9 in Arlington, which has been finally, because I feel like we go to Levi like every year. So I don't know where the NFL did that, but our game. But you know what's funny?
I don't think we've played there since I think we played you the first year it was open there, and I don't think we've played you there since.
Yeah, maybe the one playoff game where we didn't know what we were doing on offense and let the clock run out or something. I don't know. But I will say this, Dave. Our games, in the immortal words of the great Jim Ross, are usually bowling shoe ugly. So there's usually great defense, bad offense, and usually win games like 16-7 or 15-9 or just absolute ugly slop fest. But in any event, you and I will always hug at the end and shake hands. You're my guy. So, Dave, it's a pleasure. So, all right. So, as everyone knows, here on Through the Looking Glass, we started last month, and we will continue this month, and through the next few months, maybe through the end of the year. Depends. We're going to rebook because we've gone through the Looking Glass at alternate universes for shows, pay-per-views, years, guys' careers. Thankfully, Dave, no one has died. Well, we could do a Pete Doherty episode, but maybe Mike
Dorchester. You never know.
Yeah, maybe Mike McGurk finally brought a cake at the wake that he asked for at that outro in Houston in 1987 with Bruce Pritchard. Anyway, rest in peace, Duke of Dorchester. Always one of my favorite 80s New England jobbers. I always loved the Duke. We are rebooking championship lineages, kind of closing gaps, maybe changing names, doing things the right way. And we'll continue with that tonight. So last month, we started with, of course, the crown jewel, the WWE Championship. And we started all the way back in 1963 with Buddy Rogers. And right now we got back to, we are at Brock Lesnar, who we did have beat The Rock at SummerSlam 2002. Now, if you want to hear the first part, please. I don't remember the changes. I'll be honest. I had a sheet, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Check out our episode last month, and you'll see what we do. We took some guys out. We shortened some. We lengthened some. We had some fun, and we're going to have fun tonight. So, so we'll try and keep this to a tight. We'll try and keep it to a tight 90. We'll see how far we go. We might do a third part with this belt. We'll see. We're going to do a ton of belts. We're going to do I think we should do, we'll most definitely do the Intercontinental Championship. We'll definitely do that one.
Yeah.
The World Heavyweight Championship, maybe. That seems like a small lineage, and I mean, we could do that one. We could do the NWA/WCW championship. That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I'm wary to do the original World Tag Team titles because I know after Demolition beats Strikeforce at WrestleMania 4, Dave's going to want them to hold the belt for 1,867 straight days. So
no. I've said this before. Let's be clear. It's not about the number of days. It's about the fact that they need to challenge Bruno Sammartino's years length. So they're not losing the titles until the Attitude Era at the earliest.
Demolition against like the what's their names? The
Outlaws. Don't get
the New Age Outlaws. Or I was thinking of
that'd be awesome.
The Godwins.
Oh,
that would be pretty funny. New Blackjacks. Oh God. Anyway, so all right, so we're gonna begin, and we'll go for again. We'll try and time it. We'll go about an hour and a half, and we'll see how far we go. And if we have to do a part 3, we'll totally do a part 3. So all right. So we left off, Dave. We somehow serpentined that because we did make some changes in 01 and 02. We did get to Brock Lesnar. We did get to Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam in 2002. He is currently our WWE champion in the alternate universe.
Yes.
We will still do, because the only thing we're changing is guys winning and losing. We're not changing.
Yeah.
We're not changing shows moving. We're still going to have the belt go to SmackDown. We're not changing that, and we're not changing. Well, we're probably changing other things, but we're going to keep the belt on SmackDown because I think that's only fair. So, Dave.
And obviously we need to highlight that part of the reason why we stopped where we did is it was during Brock Lesnar, not long after Brock Lesnar took the title, that we get the separation. We get the show. Exactly. We get the break of the lineage. We get the establishment of the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw, and Triple H takes that. So that sort of, it seemed that this is sort of the end of the undisputed era. The one champion era, and that's why we brought the pause there.
Right, we did. So now Brock Lesnar is our WWE champion, and we do the split. Now Raw has its own the rosters were their own anyway, but now the champions are split. Brock Lesnar is exclusively, and the WWE Championship is exclusively on the Blue brand, SmackDown, and as Dave mentioned, a couple of weeks after this show. Eric Bischoff, the Raw general manager, reinstitutes the World Heavyweight Championship, which of course is given to Triple H. But we will keep that there. So Brock holds the belt until Survivor Series at Madison Square Garden, where he loses to the Big Show. I'd like to dump that ring. I'd like to dump that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a waste.
That's the most ridiculous title change in the history of. Well, maybe not the most ridiculous, but it's up there. No, I agree. I would never have put the belt back on Big Show.
No,
I think he was another big casualty we had in the part 1 of this series. I think we really shut him out of the championship.
Yeah, we did. I don't think, if I remember correctly, we didn't have him win it at Survivor Series 99. I don't think we had that. So I do think he loses to Kurt Angle at Armageddon with the help of Paul Heyman. So I'm not changing the storyline per se. I'm just skipping the transition and going right to Kurt winning.
Well, I'm going to ask the question, does he need to lose the title? I get the idea of wanting to turn him babyface and have Paul Heyman as his no longer working with him.
Right.
But does he really need to lose the title here? And it's a question. It's a question I ask because the trajectory of Brock, the storyline was to build to Brock versus Kurt at WrestleMania.
Correct.
And I wonder. I was wondering, and I hear we could put the title on Kurt, and I'm assuming your plan may have been to keep it, then do the transition back at Mania. Would that be your original thought process?
That was my thought process, to do a build, to still have Brock, excuse me, sorry, to still have Brock win the Royal Rumble in Boston and then beat Kurt in Seattle at WrestleMania 19 and win back the WWE title. Now, If you're
So
thinking now,
I'm
are you
asking the
thinking?
question
Are you
as to whether
thinking we
that
flip it?
needs to happen. I'm thinking that I'm
No,
asking the question
no.
whether he needs to hold the title, whether he needs to drop the title for the sole purpose of regathering it, and whether or not the storyline could be that Kurt Angle is just chasing him, because that match was a dream match. That you had the two amateur athletes who are gunning for each other, these two collegiate greats, these two, the great Kurt Angle, the Olympic gold medalist, versus Brock Lesnar, the guy who, has sort of a similar trajectory without the Olympics. That match writes itself without the need for it to be flipping the titles. To me, the only reason you drop the belt to Kurt is if you want Brock Lesnar winning the Rumble, if you feel that step has to occur. Because if not, I think you could keep the belt on Brock all the way to Mania and through. Like, that becomes this match. Kurt trying to take the title. I'm better than you, and I will prove it at Mania as a heel, and he can employ Paul Heyman or not, or he doesn't need Heyman, but you could run that storyline to Mania, and you've got the Clash of the Titans at Mania. Brock can go in champ and still come out the winner, and that match doesn't lose anything.
Okay. So are we saying then that the Royal Rumble winner will just be somebody for Triple H's belt then?
I think that's reasonable. I don't think Kurt would even need to win the Royal. Now, Kurt never won a Rumble. I would love for Kurt Angle to have won a Royal Rumble.
That is true.
That
is true.
But I don't believe this storyline needs that. I actually think, if you want to get into argument, I actually think the Raw title, the World Heavyweight title, probably needed that stronger number one contender, with the fact that all the chaos, all the stupidity happening around that belt, with it having just been put on Hunter's waist, and there really having been no background to it. I think you could argue giving the Rumble to a Raw person might have been a better option.
Okay. I will listen, I'll roll with that. I will roll with that because we were going to go with Brock and Kurt. That was my plan anyway, was to go to Brock and Kurt at WrestleMania 19 regardless. So if you just want to skip all the rigmarole in the middle and go right to them anyway, and Brock still wins, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine.
I think that's the way to go, and I think from my perspective, that tells a better story, because then you can run because you've got Kurt going into the match hurt and the neck injury angle, and he takes time off after it, and I think you can realistically run into the back end of the year storyline where Kurt returns from the injury. And my preference would be you hold off, like you keep the belt on Brock from SummerSlam right through to the following SummerSlam. 1 year of dominance. He's probably turned back heel at some point in there, and you build up to the return of Kurt, and Kurt taking the title at SummerSlam the following year. That's what I think would be the better story.
Okay. All right. I like that. I'm totally good with that. So now, in the Prime universe, we know that Kurt wins the belt at Vengeance and then loses it to Brock in that amazing Iron Man match on September 16th in Raleigh on SmackDown. I want that Iron Man match. Do we do it at SummerSlam?
Yeah, I think that's where it needs to be done, and I think if our listeners want to hear more of our perspective on that match and that storyline, they could listen to our 2003 rebook that we did, the multi-part episode where that became our focus match for SummerSlam in 2003, was the Iron Man match between Brock and Kurt. I think I agree. That Iron Man match is sensational. I love it. I just think it would have been a better showcase to have it on at SummerSlam. And I think it's a great opportunity that the storyline that we've set up, here's Brock with a 12-month reign. Kurt's had several opportunities before Mania. He was injured at Mania, and perhaps when he comes back from injury, like he has that first match at Vengeance, that's where Brock turns heel and maybe gets himself disqualified, and it sets up the need for, we're going to do this Iron Man match. We're going to do, maybe the Vengeance match goes to a time limit, to 20, 30 minutes, whatever you do a time limit draw to set up. We need this Iron Man match, but Brock is now heel. Kurt is babyface. I think it plays into everyone's strengths better, and it would make for an absolute blow-away match at SummerSlam.
I agree. I agree with you. So in our timeline, just to give you a recap, Brock still is champion as we start at SummerSlam 02. We skipped the Big Show transition because that's dumb. Kurt does not win at Armageddon, and we go all the way to WrestleMania. Brock keeps the title in a killer match, and we continue on through, and Brock and Kurt have this amazing feud where they turn around at some point, and the face heel flips. And then in the Iron Man match that in the Prime universe was on the September 16th SmackDown, we have it at SummerSlam in Phoenix, and Kurt wins the title, and Brock's 1-year reign as champion is over. Yeah. Okay. So in our universe, Kurt Angle is the WWE champion right now at SummerSlam. What do we do now from here? In the Prime universe, Brock wins it at the Iron Man and goes all the way, and you know where we're going next, all the way to No Way Out 2004 in San Francisco, where Brock drops the belt to Eddie Guerrero.
Yep.
What do you think? Now, I know the whole point was that big win in San Francisco, very, heavily Latino community, big boost for Brock, for Eddie. Do we keep that? Or would you like Eddie to win it at WrestleMania 20 at MSG and do a double big win between Eddie, Kurt, and then, Benoit wins the triple threat? Or what is your thinking? Because I'm okay with Kurt holding it from SummerSlam as a face, and then he eventually turns heel, and then Eddie wins it at WrestleMania. Or do you have another thought?
No, look, I think Eddie is the up and come. Eddie is the man being built, and I think the momentum by August, September 03, the momentum is behind Eddie. He's got nowhere to go but the top of the card. Like that's clear cut by that point. Like when we were doing our rebook, we were talking about it. If you listen to Matt Farrell's Ruthless podcast,
yes, yep,
that's where he's been covering that in depth. Like Eddie is destined on the way to the top at this point.
Right.
I think Eddie is the next champ. Eddie is who we want to get the belt on. I agree. Now, I think there's two. I look, the San Francisco match, the Latino community. I get the premise of that, but I also think part of the premise was they wanted to get the belt off Brock before Mania because of the whole Brock
leaving
the contract and wanting to do the Goldberg match and Goldberg's contract coming to an end. So I think that element ties into it. I would have, and I'd be happy for the San Francisco match to go ahead, but then it questions, what do you do with Eddie at WrestleMania? I tell you what I think would be hilarious and a good way to build the story would be, and it also allows you to do the flip back for Kurt to return to heel a little bit better, is if you had Eddie win the Rumble by cheating, by being lie, cheat, steal Eddie. He does something that is just downright hilarious cheating and wins the Rumble. And then coming out of the Rumble, So he's got the title shot at Mania coming out of the Rumble. Kurt Angle, who has been clean-cut babyface, it's almost like what Jericho did with Shawn Michaels a few years later. Kurt starts calling it out. Look, you cheated. He cheated. Why are we giving him a title shot when he cheated? And Kurt is focused on that. Eddie had cheated to get the title shot, and that in essence turns Kurt heel because he doesn't like what's happened. He sort of stands up for what he thinks is right. But of course, the crowd are behind Eddie. The crowd love it, and so the crowd turn on Kurt as a result. And Kurt sees himself as the virtuous defender of all that's good, the American hero still. In his eyes, he hasn't changed. In his eyes, he's doing everything right. But Eddie, by winning the Rumble with cheating and lying, it's sort of the crowd I think it just generates the story better, and then that sets it up for WrestleMania where Eddie lies, cheats, and steals to win the title. And I think it's the better storyline. Also, for the fact that if you take the belt off Kurt at No Way Out, then the question is, who does Eddie face at WrestleMania? Which it could be a rematch with Brock, but if Brock is on his way out the door, I don't know that match really, like we saw what happened when Brock and Goldberg faced when everyone knew they were leaving. I don't know. I think everyone would sort of know. The suspense would be gone from a Brock-Eddie match at WrestleMania because everyone knows Brock's leaving tomorrow. There's no way they're going to put the belt on him.
Right. How about I got an interesting one. I believe he's on the Raw brand at the moment. He is on the Raw brand at the moment. Now in our 2003 rebook, this is a completely another universe. We had this guy on Raw and we pushed him to the moon. But I'm thinking, how about I was thinking I would love to see an Eddie RVD match.
Ooh. And that as an idea for a Mania match?
Yeah.
So the idea being that maybe RVD wins the Mania, wins the Rumble, but ends up doing what Benoit did, changes brands to take on the other champion.
Exactly. Or you just have, because they do have a number one contenders match at No Way Out 04 that Kurt ends up winning. So we could just have that. We would just have RVD in the number one RVD decides to
jump brands.
Yeah, he maybe there's a trade or something. We work some kind of storyline where RVD decides he'd like to get in on the match, and he will give up his. He'll do this. He'll say maybe we would do some kind of suspense like, listen, I'm giving up my Raw contract to be in this match at No Way Out. If I win this number one contenders match, I will go to SmackDown. I go to SmackDown and I want to face Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania. And then SmackDown could give somebody to Raw to replace me. If I don't win this number one contenders match, I guess I don't have a job and I leave WWE.
Ooh.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
I will sacrifice my employment. I will sacrifice my employment knowing that I will win at No Way Out and I will face Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship.
Well, face the winner of the because if
or the winner, the winner of the
that would mean
right.
Yeah, the Kurt Eddie match at No Way Out.
Right.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that works as well. I think you can go, like I said. I think I can understand doing the title change in San Francisco and giving Eddie that cultural moment as well. And if you've got a strong challenger at WrestleMania, it can be done. So I'm happy with that. I think that works too. So either way, Eddie's getting the belt from Kurt Angle. So
right, yeah.
We're putting the belt on Eddie either way.
Right. Yep.
Hmm.
So Eddie wins at No Way Out. We do a dipsy do. RVD comes on to SmackDown and says, I've talked to Eric Bischoff. I am ripping up my Raw contract. I won in on this match at No Way Out, this number one contenders match with, I forgot who the other people were. I think Cena was one of them, right? No.
Yeah, I think.
Who was that? It was Eddie. What was the original, the one in real life?
The No Way Out in the real universe, the No Way Out 03. Yeah, I think it was
04.
04, sorry.
04.
The 04 match was Kurt Angle beat Big Show and John Cena.
Okay. So we dump Big Show. Well, we keep Big Show because we got to move Kurt to the title match. So Kurt wouldn't be in the match. It'll be Big Show, Cena, and RVD.
Well, could have Brock. You could have Brock in that match because Brock's still on SmackDown. We've got the belt off him, but he would be someone you would have in a number one contenders match.
You and I, Dave, in alternate universes have totally wiped Big Show off the map. It's him gone. So, all right. So it'll be Brock, Cena, and RVD, and RVD wins the number one contenders match, goes to WrestleMania to face Eddie Guerrero, the Eddie Guerrero Kurt Angle winner, which is Eddie.
Yeah, and Eddie wins that match as well. So Eddie's got the belt and he keeps it through.
Right. So Eddie, in our universe right now, Eddie Guerrero wins, is your WWE champion, leaving Madison Square Garden after WrestleMania 20.
Yep. Now,
we all know what happens. I just watched it. We all know what happens. He starts feuding with JBL, who, of course, now joins. He's now a heel singles wrestler, as Farouk is gone. And he wins the belt at the Great American Bash at the end of June. And he holds it all the way to WrestleMania 21 in LA, where he drops it to John Cena.
Part of that conversation, like before you go, I mean, we need to. I guess what we're going to look at is if we're going to do that. I guess that part of this conversation ties into the whole idea that Eddie was, from what I've heard, it was Eddie was struggling with the pressure of being champion in his own mind. We need to highlight this is in Eddie's mind. He was struggling with the pressure of being champion. And did he ask to drop the title? I'm not sure what the specifics are around that, but I don't think they originally planned to give the belt to JBL when they first started the feud between them.
Right. No, there is some type of backstory that Eddie was getting burnt out of the grind. He was getting burnt out on the road, and he was ready. He had, thank you for the opportunity to be champion. It's time to get, I have no problem to drop it to somebody else and let them go. I'm good. But, and what's funny? I don't have a problem. With JBL winning it. I feel like they rushed it and he wasn't completely over yet. Because I feel like by the time he got over and became a heel I enjoyed, he drops it to Cena.
That's
like he didn't I feel like he finally got over at like the Rumble, and then dropped it to Cena at WrestleMania. So maybe Eddie holds it a little bit longer, but I would like to see JBL have it for a little bit.
And I guess this is where I like the idea of JBL getting the title at some point. I feel that I agree. I don't think he was ready from a character perspective when they put the title on him.
No.
And maybe this could be the compromise. If it's because Eddie felt he needed to drop the title because he was struggling with the pressure, if it's his choice to say, I need to drop the belt, there may be a better option. and I don't know. It becomes a little bit of a hot potato, but maybe the better option is to drop the belt back to Kurt. Maybe initially you drop it back to Kurt, and then perhaps you could even give a return, like, and then Eddie regains it, and you're allowing the JBL character to build through this time. And then when you get to around Survivor Series, you could do a 4-way match that has Eddie and Kurt and JBL, and whether it be Booker or Undertaker or whoever, and that's where you put the belt on JBL. JBL sort of comes in as the underdog and cheats and does whatever and surprises everyone walking out with the title.
Mm-hmm. I still think Taker, I still would like, because I think him being champion kind of neutered that, but I feel like, because I'm in the middle of watching one of my Chrono watches, and that JBL Taker feud in 2004 is absolutely awful. And a lot of it, I think, is because the title was attached to it. I feel like they would have had a better feud if it was just them.
And that's what I'm saying. That you could morph. So Eddie keeps the belt from JBL. He feuds with JBL. JBL turns heel. That's his initial starting point. They put him in the title. He loses the match. He then ends up in a series of matches. Then Kurt demands a rematch that he hasn't had yet. Kurt regains the title from Eddie in the rematch, while JBL goes on to feud with Undertaker with no title on the line to allow you to develop the character more. And then you get to Survivor Series, where you're essentially at the end of the Undertaker JBL feud. Kurt and Eddie are pretty well done too, but in a 4-way match, JBL sneaks out with the belt, and so you transition. You go from Eddie to Kurt, and then Kurt holds to Survivor Series where JBL wins it there. But he's had that feud with The Undertaker to build him up a little more without the title being involved.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think you just really need to. I thought JBL was a good WWF champion on the back end. So I feel like we should instead of having him linger with the belt in the beginning when nobody was really believing him and the feuds were a little flat, I say you build it. Yeah, we build him up. And then, yes, by the time we get to Survivor Series what was that Survivor Series? Cleveland, I think it was in Cleveland. We get to that Survivor Series in Cleveland, and you have
in Cleveland, yeah,
in Cleveland, and you have the 4-way, and that's where JBL wins the title. Like Taker's so close, or Eddie, and Taker pins Booker or somebody, and JBL wins the WWE title in November rather than all the way back in June.
Yeah,
and it gives Eddie a great title reign, one that is memorable for him, and it's one that really fits him. That works for him, and gives him that shining moment for him. So Eddie holds it pretty much from February to November.
Okay, so we're going to keep the belt on Eddie the whole way.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, all right. So he's at
Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It all comes down to where Eddie's mindset is, and if you can work with Eddie and help him see, hey, look, we're all working together here. It's not all on your shoulders. And maybe, that's right. That's where, some support comes in, and I agree. Keep it on him that long. And if Eddie was to come to you and say, no, look, I do need to, this is too much for me, then you just put the belt back on Kurt Angle as the transition until you get to that Survivor Series moment. So either way, you've either Eddie all the way to Survivor Series, or if you need to transition it off him, you go through Kurt Angle, and then we move it on to JBL at Survivor Series.
Exactly. Yeah, though, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's fine.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're at Survivor Series. So we're in November of 2004, and JBL is our champion. From this point forward, nothing changes from the Prime Universe, and we have John Cena. The era of Cena begins. The Cena era begins at WrestleMania 21 in Los Angeles, and he wins the WWE title from JBL.
Yes.
In the Prime Universe, he wins the rematch. One of my favorite Cena matches of all time. Actually, I'll be honest with you, it's probably one of my favorite JBL matches too. The I Quit match they have at Judgment Day is so bloody and gross and violent. So it's fantastic. Absolutely love that match. Then after that, now we do the big flip here. Right after Judgment Day, after the draft, the belts flip. So now John Cena, the WWE champion, goes to Raw. And the WWE title's on Raw for the first time in 3 years. And at the time, Batista, who was the World Heavyweight Champion, who just went through arguably one of my favorite feuds ever, his feud with Triple H, ending with, again, another one of my favorite matches of all time, the Hell in a Cell match at Vengeance, which is on my GWE list. So now we have the WWE title is on Raw. Now, in the Prime Universe, Cena holds it all the way to New Year's Revolution in January of 2006 in Albany when he wins the Elimination Chamber match, but then Edge cashes in the inaugural Money in the Bank and wins the belt. In that time, in the Prime Universe, Cena faces Jericho, and then Jericho leaves. He faces Kurt a couple of times.
Well, let's bring up the biggest issue in the whole lot.
Right.
Is he also involved in that, but at the point where it was undermined was the role Christian was playing at that time as well.
Correct.
And that's because that directly led to Christian leaving the company.
Yes, and going to TNA. Yep.
Yes, because the perception that Christian wasn't a big enough name to be in those matches with Cena and Jericho.
So, are you saying that you would like to see Christian the WWE champion?
So when did that match? When did the three-way happen with
Vengeance?
That was at Vengeance.
Yeah, that was in June. It was the same show.
Yeah.
It was the same pay-per-view as. That's one of my favorite pay-per-views ever. That Vengeance 05 in Vegas, because you had that match is great. JBL, Cena, Jericho, and Christian. That match is awesome.
Yes.
You have the Triple H Batista rematch, and you have, I think, the better match, the rematch from WrestleMania between Kurt and Shawn. So I just wanted to point that out. I love that. That's like one of my favorite pay-per-views ever. So anyway.
Yeah, but it all stemmed and this is a really awkward time because I think there's a lot of factors at play. I think the factor at play, like I said, you've got a time period where Christian has got the groundswell behind him, and the fact that the company were of the perception that Christian and Cena just wasn't a big enough match, and they had to include Jericho into the match.
Right.
That I mean, like I said, that leads to Cena, to Christian leaving the company, directly leads to it. Then you've got the other thing is you've got what I believe is the genuine fan backlash at moving Batista away from the Raw brand and putting Cena on there instead. That's
Mhm.
where I think part of the hatred of Cena starts. Is Batista was so popular that they moved him away. And I've talked about this on previous episodes that we've done, where
Yep.
in my opinion, that's part of the reason why the Cena sucks stuff ever started, was
Yeah,
this whole perception.
yeah, I think the other reason was too. I think the other reason too was that Jericho's a good worker, but he was a good heel, and he adapted to Cena, and everything was fine. But remember, that Raw the night after SummerSlam '05 is when both Jericho and Bischoff get the boot. Right, that's right. Is that the Raw where,
Yeah,
or is that later
so.
where Vince has the judge thing on and he kicks Bischoff in the garbage truck or whatever that was. But then he feuds with Kurt,
And everyone
that's
loves
where,
it.
and that exacerbates the Cena sucks, because now you're seeing now you're seeing Cena's deficiencies, which after a few years people kind of got over. But this is where the divide. This is where also the gender divide and the age divide comes in, because the women and the kids still love Cena because the shirts are pretty and everything, but guys think he sucks a bag of dicks.
Yeah,
So,
and that's coupled with the fact that by this point, Kurt Angle had moved into that realm of everyone respected him, everyone liked, whether he was a heel or a back, he was in that Ric Flair mold. It was realistically, Kurt is going to be appreciated by most fans because of just how damn good he is.
Right.
So anyway, all this story. Let me take you to what I'd like to propose, and that is, I'd like to propose a very short flip. I'd like to propose that Christian gets the belt for even just 1 month, and Cena wins it back, because I think at this point Christian was on a tear. I believe Christian had earned a genuine shot, and I think it would have been an absolute shock for Christian to win the belt, and then you can put it back. And I'm talking about sometime in this 3-4 month period, like when he's Cena's now on the Raw brand. I think it would have just been a little shot for Christian to get a very short run with the belt, and I mean, like, literally, he wins it and then he loses it in his first defense against Cena. So I'd like to propose that we throw in a little bonus title change.
Okay, why not? That's fine with me. And again, Christian's earned it, and I think this gives him. I still think he'll leave. I still think I still think he'll let his contract run out and go, you know what? I think I'm going to leave and kind of sow my oats somewhere else, and I'd love to come back down the road, but I think I need a change of scenery. So I would still have him leave.
Oh yeah, but I'm suggesting, like, you do this, like, you could potentially even do this on on a Raw, like he wins the title on Raw, and then and maybe it's post SummerSlam, maybe it's just after SummerSlam, he wins it on Raw and then drops it back at Unforgiven, something like that. Like you could do you could still, Cena is having a few defenses when he first joins the company, so you don't want to take it off him straight away. But I think you could do, come out of SummerSlam, Cena is on a bit of a roll, and then Christian steals a win on Raw, and then 2 weeks later drops it back on pay-per-view to Cena.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm totally good with that. And Cena, I think the Cena sucks hate will still be there because people would have, because I think I almost think Christian would get a borderline like pop.
Oh, he would.
From the fans.
Babyface pop, big time.
Yeah. And then he drops it, and then Cena will get the shit again. But I think that's fine. I think it's unavoidable if you get him both in this situation and what will happen if he does start feuding with Kurt.
Hey, I've got it. I'll just see if I'm in the right time frame. No, I'm not. That's all right. No, cool. Yeah. I'm just checking where matches are. No, that's all good. So yeah, I think I agree. That's the way to go.
Okay. So at some point between June and SummerSlam, Christian wins a quick title.
No, after SummerSlam.
Oh, after SummerSlam. Gotcha. Okay, after
SummerSlam and wins it back at Unforgiven.
Okay, so maybe Christian gets a title shot. Maybe the night after SummerSlam. Maybe on that night after on Raw. Holds it for a month.
Yeah.
And then loses it at Unforgiven in the fuck was that Unforgiven? Oklahoma City, I think. I still try to. I still want to get my pay-per-view city memory still sharp. Yeah, I think that one was in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Oklahoma, and it's literally his first title defense. Like he has not defended the title on any form of viewing opportunity.
Right. So we go through. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say that then brings us back to the Money in the Bank.
Right. So the Cena Kurt feud continues. It goes through Unforgiven. We go through. Well, No Mercy is SmackDown. We get through Taboo Tuesday, and then we get to Survivor Series, and then we get to Armageddon, and nothing's changed. And then we get to New Year's Revolution on January 8th of 2006 in Albany, New York. John Cena wins the Elimination Chamber match to retain the WWE title, but Vince McMahon comes out and says this guy is cashing in his opportunity for a WWE Championship match, and he wants it right now. You think you know me? And the fucking place goes absolutely batshit. And Cena's a fucking bloody mess after that chamber. And Edge is and he becomes WWE champion. I would keep that.
Yes. Oh yes, that's one of the great moments in company history. I acknowledge, and I've said it before, I'm not the biggest Edge fan. I'm not. I just he doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
But that moment is one of the greatest moments in the history of the company. That first Money in the Bank cash in, it set a precedent, it set the stage, it told the story. It was just a brilliant moment. And the follow-up, the Rated R Superstar, the early days of Edge as having just, the whole leader storyline that was going on there. It was a great tie-in to the live sex celebration build and all that. It's just brilliant. So yes, Edge wins at New Year's Revolution, cashing in Money in the Bank. Absolutely.
But then, in another fuck you moment to the Cena haters, just 20 days later, at the Royal Rumble in Miami, John Cena wins it back. And everybody hated that.
Yes.
Do we still do that?
No. I like the idea of Edge keeping the belt longer. In fact, I love the idea of Edge. I think the storyline would be Edge refusing to put the belt on the line against Cena in a straight up match. Mm-hmm. I think, the opportunist, he wins it the way he does. How good would the storyline be where Cena wants his rematch and Edge just refuses? At point blank. No, I'm not going to give it to you. And maybe Cena and I think you build back to WrestleMania. To me, that's where that payoff should have been. Edge defending the title against Cena at WrestleMania would have been the payoff. No offense to Hunter, But really, Cena and Hunter, they didn't need to face each other at WrestleMania. I think it would have been a great opportunity to you're in a way showing this is the new generation. This is where we're heading in the future. We don't need to go back to the old guard. Edge and Cena are the move forward. I think it should have been the WrestleMania match. I think they should have the rematch at Mania.
Okay. So Edge
So perhaps,
keeps it.
yeah, so Cena comes out. He wants the shot. He wants his rematch. So because this happens at New Year's Revolution. So on Raw, he wants his rematch, and Edge refuses and says he's got a. And at this point, you could even say Umaga and Cena have their match already booked for Royal Rumble. It's already booked.
No, that's the following year. That's the following year. Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
So you say Edge says you've got to win the Rumble. You want your shot. You've got to win the Rumble. So Cena goes and wins the Rumble. And then you've got the build. Edge doing everything he can to try and I don't want the match. He'll wrestle other guys, but he doesn't want the match against Cena. And Cena has to win the Rumble to do it. He gets his shot and gets the opportunity at Mania.
That works for me. I have no problem with that.
And Cena wins it back at Mania.
Okay, that's fine. I have a great idea, even though they're both still kind of heel face to each other. This is the complete side note. So you indulge me for 12 seconds. Because I would love to see DX reunite before WrestleMania, and then at WrestleMania, you have Vince and Shane versus Triple H and Shawn in a street fight.
Oh, love it. Great. And that gets Triple H out of the main event.
Exactly.
Yeah, love it.
All right, good.
Again, another storyline. You could just bring that storyline a little bit earlier to the Rumble. You just, you bring some of those changes that happens during the Rumbles. Hunter does something in the Rumble that shows that he does the chop or he does something and it, it gets Vince annoyed, and then you just start that storyline coming out of the Rumble rather than coming out of Mania. And I love that DX reunion, and you can keep it on Edge. Is Triple H does Shawn really trust him? And maybe Vince books the match. Oh, well, I mean, we're not even talking about our titles here. We're going on a tangent.
Yeah, I know we are. Sorry, I knew it was going to happen.
Let's go. Well, I've got to finish my thought now. But okay. So you've got this. Vince is annoyed at Shawn, and that's where that storyline's building. And then at the same time, during the Rumble, Triple H does something, costs whoever Vince wants in a particular role or doing something, costs them. Or he saves Shawn at one point, not unintentionally, whatever. And then you've got concurrent storylines of the Vince Shawn thing brewing and Hunter at the side, sort of like not wanting to be a part of it, doesn't really want to help, but you can sort of see that build happening. And then maybe the storyline is that Vince says it's me and Shane, and Shawn and Hunter still aren't really getting along, and he just says, you two are going to team again. You two are going to team up, and they don't like the idea. They've sort of got the anger and the mitts, but you've got the bit of Spirit Squad, whoever interfering and attacking them both. And so the build up roars, you still have them having to work together, but you still, every time they're in the ring, it still looks like they don't trust each other. And the very first time you hear, like at WrestleMania, you do Vince and Shane came up, and then you do like Shawn's music, and no one comes in. And Vince and Shane are, laughing that they're too scared. They're getting on the mic. They're too scared to show up. Then Triple H's music comes on, and no one comes out, and they're really ramming home. Maybe they're fighting each other in the back, and then the "Are you ready?" comes over, and the crowd go ballistic. And they come out as DX, and I just think it would be amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had to lose my fucking shit. Oh my god, that's awesome. We do this every time, Dave. Meanwhile,
Yeah, let's get back to the title.
yeah, let's get back to yes. But thank you. That was I like that, Dave. Thank you for making me feel good on that. So Cena wins the belt back at
WrestleMania 22.
Okay. Now, in the Prime universe, Cena loses it in one of my favorite moments of that year, and that was when he dropped the belt to RVD, who wins the Money in the Bank at One Night Stand at Hammerstein.
Yeah.
With the help from Edge.
Do
we keep that?
Yeah, you can't not have that match.
Right.
Yeah, you can't not have that title change. That's with the second One Night Stand doesn't succeed without it. It's that simple. If you don't have it, you don't have One Night Stand, and you don't relaunch ECW. You don't have any of that. So I think you've got to have RVD wins that title.
Okay.
RVD what happens afterwards, I think, is up for conversation.
Well, in the Prime universe, RVD gets pinched. What a shock. And he loses it on Raw. The day before the 4th of July, July 3rd, 2006, in a triple threat with Cena and Edge. And Edge wins the belt back. So for a whopping 3 weeks, the WWE Championship is on ECW, which I think is pretty funny. In this alternate timeline, does RVD still get pinched, or do we let him, or does he stay clean somehow? I'd love to have seen him have a little bit longer. I'd love to have seen him have at least one pay-per-view defense. I think perhaps there's some extra people traveling in the car with them, and as a result, Sabu and RVD decide they're not going to smoke while they're driving, because they're being respectful to the other people who are traveling with them. I like that.
And so we don't get picked up by the police that one night, and we're able to keep the belt on RVD for a little bit longer. And I think that's the way to go. I think the key is, I think RVD should have had at least one title defense on pay-per-view. So he keeps the belt. And look, he's working both. I think he's working, as a result, he's working Raw and he's working ECW.
Okay. Yeah, and he stays on stays clean.
And honestly, I think the setup is, I think where you're destined to head, and you mentioned it, because he dropped the title in a 3-way, didn't he? On Raw, is that what you said?
Yeah, July 3rd, 06. When he drops it to Edge in a match with him and Cena. Edge and Cena wrestle at SummerSlam. I think Cena wins by
that's
DQ.
the match that should have. Yeah, that's the match that should have been at SummerSlam. RVD, Edge, and Cena, 3-way match at SummerSlam.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
that's where it should have taken place.
Okay, that's fine with me. That's fine. I'm totally good with that. And do we have Edge win there?
I think if we go, I think we come back to the opportunistic moment. I think if you look at the storyline, Cena beat Edge at WrestleMania, and he's got that one up. Then RVD has beaten Cena at One Night Stand. I think the ultimate element to this storyline would be for Edge to be pinning RVD to win his title, and doing that on pay-per-view. So I would have Edge win it. That way, you've had each of them have a pin over each other. And realistically, you open the door for a second three-way rematch at maybe the next month's pay-per-view. You could have another rematch between them with them each saying, "I've beaten each of us is they've beaten each other once." So it could sort of be put them all in there, or maybe Edge beats RVD one-on-one the month before, and then you have a three-way match at SummerSlam as the payoff.
Right.
Maybe that's the way to go. Edge actually beats RVD. Maybe he beats him. Maybe you come back. Maybe Edge beats him on Raw, but it happens right before SummerSlam. Like you're talking a few weeks before SummerSlam, so that the SummerSlam build is Cena beat Edge, RVD beats Cena, Edge beat RVD. We've each beaten each other. Three-way match for the title. Winner takes all.
I concur. And then Edge wins it at SummerSlam.
He wins the three-way match.
He wins the three-way. Now, in the Prime world, the following month at Unforgiven in Toronto, Cena wins from Edge. I am not comfortable. Well, we don't do it anyway, but it would have been we would have created a second opportunity that Edge would have held the belt for a month or less.
Yeah.
And then after that, Cena holds it in the Prime Universe. Cena beats Edge at Unforgiven 06 and holds the belt for 380 days until he has to drop it in October of 07 because he tears his pec. And, of course, he comes back in that crazy return at the Royal Rumble at the Garden. So the question is, do we have Cena hold it? Does Cena win it at some point? And does he hold it all the way till October of 07 when he gets hurt? We gotta. This is an interesting one. This one's very important because this is a huge change.
Okay, well, before I want to raise a question to throw in before we determine where this goes, because for me, this might tie into what we do with Edge. Was the Cena Edge match at Unforgiven? Is that where Matt Hardy returned? When did Matt Hardy come back after the whole hullabaloo, leaving the company and coming back? When did that happen?
That was in 05.
That was in 05.
That was the year before. Yeah, that was the year before.
Right. So he had the match with Edge the year before.
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Yep.
Because what would be a really cool, I'm just trying to find when that happened. And I'm sorry my timeline's a little bit out. There's a lot going on in the world of, because 05, yeah. No, because Edge doesn't win the title. He wins the title. So he's got leader. So he has the feud with Matt Hardy before he wins the title, doesn't he? That's where my mindset's playing in. Is that right? He feuds with Matt Hardy, then wins the title after that.
Yes. Because July 11th of 05 is when Matt Hardy comes out after getting let go, and then Matt calls him Adam.
That's right. Yeah,
the whole thing. So yeah, that happens. They wrestle at SummerSlam. SummerSlam, where Edge wins by excessive blood loss, and then at Unforgiven 05, they fight in a steel cage match, right. and Hardy wins that.
Yeah, okay. Because the only thing I wanted to throw out there, what would have been just a little bit of fun and maybe a final tie to the storyline, would have been for Matt Hardy to challenge Edge for the title. And I admittedly lose, but this is the idea of you're giving Edge a slightly longer reign. I thought it would have been fun to put Matt Hardy in that position and have Hardy, but I know he'd gone to the other brand by then. So, yeah. Look, I think where we need to go. So yeah, that doesn't really work. So I was just thinking aloud. I think I've talked myself out of it. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just chuckling. I was chuckling.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
So
it's tough. I would love to see Matt Hardy kind of involved in this, but the timeline doesn't jive.
Timeline doesn't fit. So we're coming back to the question of, do we put the title back on Cena? When do we put the title back on Cena? And if we do, and how long do we want it to be? So I think we've got to come back to a couple of things. Number one, come back to the slight timeline issue I had earlier, which is the concept that we want to be building. I think one of the things we want to be building to is that Cena Umaga match. That Cena Umaga match was just sensational at Royal Rumble. And I think what we want, and that began a bit of a rehabilitation for Cena's character to an extent, the toughness that he showed in that. So I do think the title needs to be back on Cena before we get to Royal Rumble 07. When Cena wins the title from Edge, look, I think it would be good for Edge to have a couple of months with the belt again. Hold on to it for a couple of months. Maybe he beats, he wins the three-way match at SummerSlam that we said. And so then maybe he goes a couple of months where he fights some other guys on the roster. You've got, and look, and this is where you probably could bring in Hunter and Sean. Maybe he fights Hunter, who are in the middle of the DX run, and you're about to build to the Rated RKO versus, that storyline. Maybe you have him fight Sean at one event, Triple H at the next, and then Cena gets a shot in the middle of this storyline, and Hunter and Sean distract Edge in the match. And Cena wins the belt back, and then that builds into your Rated RKO versus DX storyline. That sort of gives Edge even more reason to focus on them rather than be trying to get the title back, and that allows Cena to be moved forward in a different way.
I like that. That's fine. That works for me. I like getting Sean involved a little bit. Yep. Now, how far do we go?
So I'm thinking you're probably taking the belt. If Edge wins it at SummerSlam, probably has a defense against, say, Sean or Hunter at Unforgiven, and then maybe Cyber Sunday is the other one. And so whoever wasn't because look, Cyber Sunday was that was the successor to Taboo Tuesday. That was the whole fans voting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the same show. It was the same pay-per-view, except they just moved it back to Sunday.
Okay, so I'm picturing, this is what I'm picturing then. If you've got that concept at Unforgiven, he faces a babyface Hunter, and Edge faces babyface Hunter and retains his title. Then at Cyber Sunday, the fans vote Sean in for the title shot. Edge beats Sean when, whatever. And then on Raw, Edge is facing Cena, and Hunter and Sean distract him. And Cena wins the belt. And so it's Survivor Series, Rated RKO, are facing DX. That storyline continues in Survivor Series, and Cena is moved off. He's easily siphoned off into what he's going to do moving forward. So sort of around the Cyber Sunday element is when we're talking, maybe just after Cyber Sunday, Cena wins the belt back before Survivor Series.
Okay. Yeah, so So Unforgiven. So you say Unforgiven. We have Triple H. It's Edge and Shawn.
Edge beats Hunter.
Edge beats Hunter.
Edge and Hunter.
Edge and Hunter.
Cyber Sunday is the Shawn match because that's when the fans would vote. They would choose Shawn to be the challenger. You could just picture, if it was Hunter, Shawn, and John Cena are your options for the challenger to Edge, and the other two will face, will be a tag team against someone else, right? You just know the fans will pick Shawn. They always do. So that's what happens there. And Cena gets his shot like the night after Raw. On the Raw the night after. Because you're telling the storyline. The storyline is the company wants to get the belt back onto Cena. We know that's where we're going. But I'm just saying, Cyber Sunday, they put the three names out there. It's Hunter, Shawn, and John Cena. You choose who's going to be the challenger for Edge. Who's going to win the fan vote? Shawn Michaels every day. So even though the company wants Cena in there, Shawn gets the title shot at Cyber Sunday. You have him Edge win by cheating or whatever, and then the night after that on Raw is Cena's shot, and Cena wins then.
Okay. So Cyber Sunday, it's Shawn and Edge, and Edge wins, and then at some point between,
I'm thinking the night after, the very next night, so the 6th of November, Monday Night Raw, Cena wins the belt.
Okay. Then at Survivor Series, I don't think, does he defend the belt in that, or is it?
No, he's in a Survivor Series type match.
Yeah, it's Team Cena, Team Big Show. Yep.
Yeah. And you can have him in a Survivor Series match. You don't necessarily have to have the same people, but that's where you perhaps put in. You start to build who is the next challenger. Someone stands up against him, but like Cena can win the match, but someone has done something to him in the match or has stood tall. One of the bad guys has highlighted that they're going to be the next challenger coming out of Survivor Series.
Right.
But then you've got Umaga, because Umaga, you can put Umaga in that match, and maybe Umaga does not get pinned. He gets disqualified, beating the absolute crap out of John Cena, and he gets sent to the back. And now you've got the build. Umaga is in the title picture now.
Right. And then the night after Survivor Series is when they start talking about Umaga as a potential number one contender.
That's right.
Now the next pay-per-view is December to Dismember, so that doesn't count. Then it's New Year's Revolution, which is where the first Cena Umaga match was. That's of course the match. That's the show where infamously Triple H popped his other quad, and Orton stood around the middle of the ring, completely clueless, not knowing what to do, and Shawn yelled at him. That was one of my favorite moments. That match, you could say, again, ends in another schmaz, even though in the Prime universe, Cena won. I feel like in our universe, I would love to see it end in like a no contest or a double DQ.
double DQ where there's blood, because you want to build to that Rumble match, which is just phenomenal.
Yes, that last man standing match in San Antonio is so good. It's so good. And then Cena wins that match.
Yep.
So Cena moves on, and
look, I do think we're in for. I do think you are in for a long Cena reign after that. I do think that the long Cena reign is relevant, because I don't think you've got anyone else to really step up and be the genuine person to be the champion. I mean, you've given Edge a title run. So you've got your Shawns and your Hunters and your guys that have all been there before. I think this is where you do. Cena goes on a run. He goes on the tear because there's no one. You need to build up the next. You want to be building up the next person to take the title, and maybe it is you're working on rehabbing Randy Orton through this time to prepare him for a genuine run, and maybe it is by the time you get to SummerSlam 07, maybe you've built Randy Orton up to the point that perhaps Randy Orton is he's there to because Cena he gets hurt eventually, doesn't he? Because he gets hurt and they've got to take the title off him.
Right. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So I think you want to be building up to. I think where the miss out point is, you keep Randy Orton separate in everything that we've talked about so far. Orton and Cena don't confront. So Cena starts going through Umaga, and then he has a couple of other big heel challenges, and maybe the Big Show finally gets a title shot. Maybe we finally give Big Show a genuine title shot against Cena, and Cena wins. Building towards perhaps a Randy Orton John Cena match at SummerSlam.
Okay. That is, I believe that's their first in the Prime universe, Dave. Is that their first meeting on pay-per-view?
I think it is in any form of major match.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the longest match of the night. So Cena's been champion since the fall.
Yep.
And he finally, Orton has kind of paid his dues after the debacle of 2004, wrestling Taker and, the whole R-rated RKO, and kind of watched as other guys kind of got ahead of him. And now he's back in the forefront.
Now, the question is, do you have Randy Orton win the title from Cena before his unfortunate injury that happens, and we know it happens, or do we want Orton to beat Cena? I like the idea of maybe Cena keeps the belt until he gets hurt, and you have then, which I guess is what they did. You then have a match between Orton and another person to essentially be the new champion gets crowned, which is essentially what they did do.
Yeah. And then the belt changes hands 3 times that night.
Yeah, no, see, I wouldn't do that.
At No Mercy. What happens is, in the Prime universe, the belt's already been vacated. It was vacated, I think, on an episode of ECW. I think they announced it.
Yeah.
Orton gets handed the belt, but then he loses it to Triple H. And then Triple H wrestles Umaga. Yeah. And then Triple H wrestles Orton again, and Orton wins it back.
No, see, to me, that's stupid. I think what you do, I think we keep the belt on Cena, with the plan being that you're building to this Cena Orton feud, which we've gotten to, and Cena, you don't have, you want it to go for a couple of pay-per-views, and it's obviously, which is what happened in the middle of this feud. Cena gets hurt. You've got to take the belt off him. So I think you put the belt on. You put the belt on Orton, but you put it on. It's a one. You either have a mini tournament. You have, maybe you do it like the on Raw. You have a battle royal where the last 2 men, like they did with the IC title when back when Razor first got the IC title. You have a battle royal. The last 2 men become the 2 guys that will face on pay-per-view for the title.
Right.
And whether that's Orton and Hunter, and Orton wins. I think we want to come out of it with Orton with the belt.
I agree.
So we're very much on the line with where they've gone with the title changes. We're sort of back. We're pretty strong in sync at the moment.
Yeah, we are. We just added a couple extras and took care of some people that deserve to be taken care of in our universe. So, all right. So Orton then holds the belt until Backlash. So in this time, Orton wrestles Shawn. He starts a feud with Shawn. Then Jericho comes back. This is in the Prime universe. Jericho comes back. They wrestle at Armageddon.
Oh, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
that was a missed opportunity. And no, I think Jericho. He came back. I think they should have put the belt on him. I really do. I would have loved to have seen Jericho get the title at this point.
Let's hold that thought. Then he has that feud with Kofi Kingston.
No.
And then Kofi, that match at the Garden, and Orton gets pissed off at him and all that. Cena wins the Rumble. Comes out at number 30. Surprising. He gets his surgery is miraculous. He comes out at the 2008 Rumble at Madison Square Garden, wins the Rumble, decides instead of waiting until WrestleMania 24 in Tampa, in Orlando, he decides he wants to do it at No Way Out in Vegas. I hated that. I fucking hated it.
Okay, so this is where I think we need to go. This is what I would like to do. I think we come back to the storyline we were building was this Orton Cena big match. That's what we were building to. We've sort of started the feud, but then it's stopped. We've put the title on Orton. What I think we should do. Jericho comes back. He gets a quick 1 monther. He wins the title and then loses it back. So when does Jericho's back for? He's back before the Rumble, isn't he? He comes back and he comes
back the night after Survivor Series.
Right. So they face. So I would say Jericho wins the title at Armageddon and loses it back at Royal Rumble. So Orton wins the title back at the Rumble. So Orton is back as being champ, but Jericho's had a little 1 monther, like his return. He gets it. He's surprised Orton. And then at the Rumble, Orton's even more heelish. He's a bit more brutal. You're bringing out this really nasty side of Orton.
Yep.
And Orton wins it back at the Rumble. Cena wins the title. You go to WrestleMania, and the build is Orton can even say, I put you on the shelf. I injured you last year. They took the title off you, and I won it. This time round, I'm going to take it off you, and I'm going to put you out for good. I'm going to end your career.
Yep.
I think that's the build, and it's Orton and Cena at WrestleMania in the big payoff match for that story that's been built for a little while.
Yes. However, and this is just me completely being selfish, I'm rebooking the match order of WrestleMania 24, and my main event is Shawn Michaels retiring Ric Flair. Sorry, I'm just being selfish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that made me cry. And then that Raw the night after, forget it. When the Horsemen came out and all the Steamboat and all the guys came out, forget it. I lost. I was done. I was a bawling mess on that Raw the night after that WrestleMania. I was a disaster that night. All right, so Cena wins the belt back. In the Prime universe, Orton had held it till the following month, and then Triple H won it at Backlash. So if we have Cena as champion out of WrestleMania 24, I can't wait till I write this actual timeline out. It's gonna be funny. Where do we go from here now? So looking ahead at the rest of 2008. How long have we been going? We're going about an hour. All right. We'll see. We'll try to get to the end of the decade. We'll get to 2010, and then we'll stop there. And then next month in July we will continue. and we'll
Yep.
go from 2010 on. So, all right. So,
Look, I will acknowledge that in 2008, his babyface championship run, Triple H's babyface championship run, was a good run. I actually
yeah, it was.
think it's one of the few times that he really. I think you look at one of his title reigns outside of that first heel run, when he was at his absolute peak as a wrestler. I think this is the one run where he seems to do right in the ring by the guys he's working with. It doesn't seem to be a political one, but it seems to be almost like his last great opportunity, his last run on top before he's about to move down the card. So
Right.
I have no
focus on other stuff. Right.
yeah. So I could actually see. I don't have a problem getting the belt back onto Hunter at some point during the year. If we put the belt on Cena at WrestleMania, look, you've got an event coming up called Night of Champions. Like you've got sort of One Night Stand, Judgment Day, Backlash. Cena you could easily change it at any of those matches, but can you imagine sort of a build of the idea of Night of Champions and Hunter sort of going, I'm the champion of champions. But from a babyface perspective, and it's that respect match on that sort of, and I know Hunter beat Cena on that night, but if that was where you did the title change, you could tie it into the theme of Night of Champions. Here's Cena, Hunter sort of going, I'm going to prove I'm the one of the greatest champions of all time. You've given me the shot, Cena. I appreciate it. I respect you. You've done a lot. A couple of months before it, you could have a couple of 4-ways here and a couple of rematches for Cena, but you get, and it could happen earlier, but I just like the idea of Hunter maybe thematically winning it at Night of Champions.
Okay. Because we have Backlash, we have Judgment Day, and One Night Stand all before that. Now, there's one thing we have to also take into account. Something else happened during this stretch. Another draft and another bounce. So between, let me check the official date. Let me check the.
This is when Hunter flipped over to SmackDown, isn't it?
Correct. It is. Let me see when it actually happens. After the 2008 draft. So at some point between Backlash and in the Prime universe, Triple H wins it at Backlash and he holds it until Survivor Series in Boston. I was at that show. Actually, a few of us were there. And Edge won it in that triple threat. And Jeff Hardy got thrown down the stairs and all that jazz. But in that stretch, after the 2008 draft, which took place on between June 25th, 23rd and 25th of June in San Antonio on Raw SmackDown. So
that means that you could take the title, you could put the title on Triple H at One Night Stand, and he would be champion going into the draft.
Right,
and then you could flip him to SmackDown. Yep.
Correct.
So that's where the title change will occur at One Night Stand, and maybe there's the theme: one night only. Triple H says, for one night only, for one night only, you're going to see the return of the Cerebral Assassin. For one night only, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win that title. Yeah, so he's the baby face, but you're getting this idea of he knows he's got to draw on everything that he's ever done to perhaps win the title. And so you could play into the One Night Stand theme then.
Right. Yep. Yeah. The One Night Stand is on June 1st of 2008, my birthday. And then the draft is the 23rd and the 25th. Night of Champions
is the 29th.
Is the 29th. So the end of so right at that point he becomes exclusive to SmackDown. So Night of Champions he wrestles anyway, except he's on the SmackDown brand. And let's see. Per pre-draft stipulations, all the three champions brought their respective titles to the brand to which they were drafted. The 2008 draft was the last to take place in the Ruthless Aggression era, as the era ended after SummerSlam. So, let me look at the draft. Oh, there's actually matches. Oh. So, Rey Mysterio. So, in the draft that year, Rey Mysterio went from Raw to SmackDown. Went from SmackDown to Raw. Jeff Hardy went to SmackDown. CM Punk went to Raw while holding the Money in the Bank briefcase. Let's remember that.
Yep.
Matt Hardy went from SmackDown to ECW. He was the United States champion. Jim Ross went from Raw to SmackDown. Remember that whole controversy. Michael Cole went from SmackDown to Raw. Batista went back to Raw. Triple H, as mentioned. Kane went from ECW to Raw while he was ECW champion. And then Triple H went from Raw to SmackDown with the WWE title. Looking at the supplemental draft, I'm not sure. Oh, so on the June Night of Champions, after the draft, the ECW Championship moved back to ECW when Mark Henry defeated Kane and Big Show in a triple threat match, leaving Raw without any top-tier championships. But we know what happened. The night after, Batista beat the crap out of Edge, and then CM Punk cashed in on him and won the world title. So the world title went back to Raw after, 3.5 years or 4 years on SmackDown. And the WWE title is back to SmackDown. I'm assuming we stick with that.
Yes. Yeah, okay. I do. We've put the title on Triple H at the end of One Night Stand. He's flipped to SmackDown, and he's now champion moving forward.
Okay.
So I think that's where I think we're good there.
Yep, we're good there.
And I think our destination is Jeff Hardy. I do believe that. And again, I'm not the greatest Jeff Hardy fan. I'm not. I like the Hardy Boys as a team. I'm not a big fan of Jeff Hardy as a single guy.
Honestly, I'm not either. So you're not in the minority. I'm not either.
But I will also acknowledge in 2008 he was on a tear as well, and there was a real groundswell for the championship win that he gets by the end of the year. And I don't think there's anything wrong with giving him that short title reign before the end of the year. So I think you're on the build to, at some point, Jeff Hardy is going to get that win over Hunter for the title. And I think even the way it happened, the three-way match with Edge and all that, it works because it means that it's not just Triple H on his own against Hardy. It's multiple people. Hardy can take advantage of that. And I think that's the way to go. I think we build up for that very brief. I don't think Hunter loses the title before that. I don't think you need to do a flip to Edge and back to Hunter or anything like that.
No, I don't think so either.
I think Hunter holds the title. You've got that idea that the Cyber Sunday, Jeff Hardy, I think was he chosen by it was No Mercy that they faced off for the first time. But
yes, he did.
I think
Triple H did the thing where he did the finger and thumb like you were this close.
Yeah, and I think you do that. You have that there's that element, and then you build up to that probably that same moment. At Armageddon, Jeff Hardy gets that surprise win in a three-way match, and Hardy comes out at the end of 2008 with the title, which he isn't going to hold very long, but he's the champion at the end of Armageddon. I think I like that title change for the mere fact that it played into where Hardy was at the time. Whether you keep it on him for very long, I'm not sure. I think you get it off him pretty quick because I just don't think he's viable as a champion. I don't think it works. And like I said, not a big fan, and I think you get the belt off him, and they took the belt off him at the Royal Rumble '09, put it back on Edge, and I think that it easily could be the same thing. You keep the same match because then you can head to Mania with the big Mania match between Edge and the Undertaker.
Right. Well,
no, that's not that one. That's not.
That's the year before. Because
the year before.
Well, no, you don't. Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, like, Dave, do you really want to break up that Edge Taker Shawn match? I wouldn't.
No, I've got my year wrong.
Yeah, no, you're thinking of 08. No, 09. Yeah. So Edge wins. So I like that whole thing. So we have the Triple H has the reign. He does it through 08. We kind of keep it the way it was, except Edge doesn't win the title. Edge doesn't lose it win it at Survivor Series. Triple H keeps it at Survivor Series. Jeff Hardy wins it at Armageddon in Buffalo, and then at the Royal Rumble in Detroit. Yeah, and at the Royal Rumble in Detroit, he loses to Edge.
Yes.
Now, in the Prime universe, we have another hot potato because the following month, at No Way Out in Seattle, Triple H wins it in the Chamber. Do we keep that?
And is that that's the build to the Triple H Orton match that doesn't work.
Right.
And
they do a no DQ and use no weapons.
And then
whatever the hell it was.
And then Edge does and then Edge jumps into the other chamber and wins the Raw title. That's correct. That's the same night. Yeah.
Yep.
Look, in the end, I don't like the Randy Orton match at the Triple H Orton match at WrestleMania. It just doesn't work.
I don't like it either. Even I don't like it.
So, but the question is, do we not like it because of how they built it and scripted it, or do we rebook that match differently and you still have that match, or do you have Edge hold it? And I mean, do you run another three-way? Do you have Edge, Triple H, and Orton in the singles match at WrestleMania?
Well, that would give us three. Here's the thing: that would give us three. Well, no, it would be three triple threat title matches over 5 months.
Yeah, that's
you have a triple threat match. Well. You have a triple threat match at Survivor Series. You have a triple threat match at Armageddon. And then you have the singles match where Edge would win it back. Then you have Triple H in the Chamber at No Way Out, and then you would have a triple threat at WrestleMania. So, in a 5 pay-per-view stretch, 4 of the WWE title matches would have multiple people in it.
Nah, and that's too many. That's too many. So really, it comes down to this. This is where you sit. What WrestleMania which of the 3 following matches would you prefer at WrestleMania? Edge holds and he faces Triple H at Mania. Edge holds and he faces Randy Orton at Mania. Or Triple H faces Randy Orton at Mania and you do a title switch beforehand and you rebook and change that Triple H Orton match.
I kind of like Triple H and Edge.
Okay. So Edge keeps it to WrestleMania and Triple H beats him at Mania for the title.
Exactly. And you could you could put Orton in like the Money in the Bank match or something, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
You can stick him in something.
And they can have their feud after WrestleMania, those two. Orton and Hunter can have their feud after WrestleMania.
Right. Yep. Now, guess what happens? Right before Backlash, the 2009 draft happens, and the WWE belt goes back to Raw. So we have another brand hot potato. Now, in the Prime universe, Orton wins the belt at Backlash in Providence. That was another pretty good show that I was at live. And Then Batista wins it. Then it gets bounced around a little bit throughout 09. A lot of guys win it in 09. It's all over the place. You've got
that backlash match. That's the 6-man match. Legacy, when Orton's got Legacy together and he wins the match
against Batista, Triple H, and Shane.
By pinning Triple H in a 6-man match.
Yes. Yep.
I hate those stipulations.
Yeah, I hate that too.
You win a singles title in the main event. What in a tag match? I love the idea of Orton with Legacy getting his hands on the title. I just don't like, and I love the idea, and this is going to show some of my bias. If we are back to Batista on the Raw show, what I really would love to see now. What happens to Triple H after he loses the belt to Orton? Does he go into hiding? Does he go? Is he injured? Where does Triple H end up going?
Well, I think he gets hurt in the Prime universe because he's not at much the rest of the year. No. I think he comes back. Or no, does he reunite? No, I'm sorry, because he doesn't get hurt. I'm sorry. Maybe he does get hurt because he does eventually reunite DX because they wrestle Legacy in the fall.
Because what I'm thinking you do is whether it be at Backlash or you do it at Judgment Day, but you have a 3-way match. Again, another 3-way match. Maybe you do it at Judgment Day. You get the belt onto Batista. I love Batista. I think he should be the champion. You could have, and then you can still have Legacy and DX do their thing on the side, but you can have, you get the belt on Batista without having to do multiple title changes.
Right.
Now, and then you're not doing that silly 6-man match.
Yeah. Now, in the Prime universe, Batista wins the title from Orton in a cage match at Extreme Rules in New Orleans. But then 2 days later, he tears his bicep muscle and has to vacate it. And then on the June 15th Raw, Orton wins it in a vacant 4-way. But then you have the hot potato.
Well, then maybe okay.
Cena wins it. Cena wins it at Breaking Point. Then Orton wins it at Hell in a Cell. Then Cena wins it at Bragging Rights. Then Sheamus wins it at TLC, and that's where we'll stop. But
all right.
let's wrap up tonight's show. So wrap up this month's show. Let's try to smooth out that hot mess through the rest of 09.
Taking into account that Batista gets hurt, which I had forgotten about, that makes me put we can do this in retrospect. I want to put the brake on then. I don't want to be putting the belt on Batista and then having to pull it off him straight away because of injury, because that's what happened last time. So I'm proposing after we come out of WrestleMania, Hunter has beaten Edge, then Hunter starts his feud with Orton. He starts it after there, and that's where Legacy starts to come into play. And Orton beats Triple H with the help of Legacy to take that title. And he holds that title until we get to this series of matches with with Orton.
Right.
And with Cena. And how about we do this? Instead of the title hot potatoing between the two of them, back and forth, what if you do a best of 7 series, pay-per-view and TV over a couple of months period? So the winner of the best of 7 wins the title, but you can have them trade wins on pay-per-view and TV without actually having to change the title. And that puts a little bit more meaning into everything.
Yeah. First of all, I love title series. I love that. So You got no. I'm all in on that. I have no problem with that. And it would be now the best of 7 would be between
Orton and Cena.
Orton and Cena. Wow. Well, it's already the feud, and they wrestle the crap out of each other for what 5 months. Might as well make something interesting out of it.
Yeah.
So you still have them wrestling at Breaking Point, Hell in a Cell.
I'm going to take it back a sec. Hang on, because I've just discovered that Triple H is involved in some matches with Orton going into the Bash and Extreme Rules is a 3-way. So, Batista Orton is Extreme Rules, but then Triple H is in the next 2 events. So you could keep the belt on Hunter a little bit longer and not just do it at Backlash. You could actually keep the belt on Hunter until the Bash, and then you do then you do the 3-way. You see, you're still having Orton beat Hunter for the title. You can just keep it on Hunter a little bit longer, and then you go into this series with John Cena, best of 7 that ends up being. It gets announced best of 7. It's going to culminate at. I mean, do you culminate it at Survivor Series? When would you culminate it? That's probably the question.
Yeah.
So what did you say was the bouncing back and forth between them?
So after Batista vacates it to injury, Orton wins it on the June 15th Raw in a 4-way,
right.
Another 4-way.
Mm-hmm.
Then Cena wins it in September at Breaking Point.
Right.
Then Orton wins it back at Hell in a Cell, literally 4 weeks later. Then 3 weeks later, Cena wins it back at Bragging Rights in Pittsburgh. That's the 60-minute Iron Man. Right. And then Cena ends up losing it in December at TLC to Sheamus.
Okay, so let's bring it back. Mm-hmm. So they have you could have Orton win it earlier, and then you announce going into SummerSlam that we are about to start a best of 7 series between Orton and John Cena for the title. It starts at SummerSlam, and it goes sort of through those next couple of pay-per-views. So you could have those flipping back and forth matches, and you could finish the best of 7 series with the 1-hour Iron Man idea. And that sort of culminates the best of 7 series. They go into that match 3-all. And then the Iron Man is sort of like, this is decides we've got a match that it can go as many falls as it does. And you've got the winner is winning the title. And that's your little pocket of time. Almost the title sits on hold from anyone else between, when was the last match? Was it Survivor Series? Was the last match at Survivor Series?
No, Bragging Rights.
Bragging Rights. So between SummerSlam and Bragging Rights, we're doing a best of 7 series, and whoever wins it, wins the first person to win 4 matches, wins the title, and no one else gets a title shot in that time. But you can have those big matches on pay-per-view. They flick it. They can trade wins back and forth without having to trade the title, and then the winner of the Iron Man match that's match 7. And Cena comes out with the title at the end of it because he's the babyface, and that's what you do. At the end of a series like that, you're going to put the belt back on Cena.
Right. Now, to wrap up for this month, for part 2, I am not in favor, and this is not a knock on him anyway. I just think this was a hair trigger reaction based on the usual the crowd's kind of into him, thing. Mm. I would not have Cena lose to Sheamus at TLC.
No.
I would have Cena hold it all the way till the Elimination Chamber in February in St. Louis. And then we'll go from there, because remember that night he wins it, but then as a favor he did for Vince McMahon, of course, now the heel Batista wins the WWE title. He gets a rematch after a second time in 4 years that Cena's got to wrestle a second match after being in a chamber. He loses it, and then Cena wins it back at WrestleMania 26 in Phoenix. Now we can think about that for our July.
But I think we're coming out to the idea that Cena has the title coming out at the end of the year.
Yeah. So we will dump. So in our alternate universe, we are dumping Sheamus's win at TLC because it just made no sense. This is not a disrespect to Sheamus. As a matter of fact, Sheamus wins it in June at Fatal 4-Way, and we can think of Sheamus winning down the road. There's no disrespect in that.
I agree. I don't think Sheamus was ready for it. Don't think it was time right. But can you imagine if you put you had that close sort of match? Sheamus really sort of makes a good showing of it, and then you give Sheamus a rematch with Cena at the Royal Rumble. So they get to play it back, and maybe Sheamus gets even closer and doesn't win it still. So you're building Sheamus's reputation in ring without having the knee-jerk title switch.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And you keep the belt on Cena through beyond Royal Rumble, which is where we'll leave off.
Yeah. Because his title, he would have the title, and at the moment we go into the next decade of 2010, and we have Cena, who would be defending the belt in the Elimination Chamber instead of winning it in the Elimination Chamber. And then in the Prime universe, Vince McMahon brings out Batista, who's now a heel and was doing, dastardly favors for him, and Cena has to wrestle him, and Batista beats him in like 20 seconds to win the belt, and then Cena wins it back at WrestleMania 26. We'll talk about that. I feel like that's very clunky too, but we'll go from there, because as I'm looking at 2010, you and I have a big Money in the Bank problem that we have to figure out. You know what I'm talking about. So, well, I hope you enjoyed that. We narrowed it down a little bit. Obviously, we did a shorter window here than we did because our first episode, the first part one last month, we did 1963 to 2002. Mind you, there were less title changes to talk about. We had, mega Bruno runs, mega Hogan runs. So we were dealing with larger swaths of time to play with than we did here. Between 2002 and 2010, it was a lot easier to kind of play the shell game here. So when we come back on our July episode, and
I think one thing to notice, and I'm surprised we didn't actually have that many changes from the main title line. Like we cleaned things up, but really I think it's an indication of where the company was at, that there wasn't as many variations, where I do think that will change next time we do this.
Yes, in July we'll do 2010. Maybe we'll go to COVID, because then that's where we have the Universal Belt, and then we get kind of mishmashy, and we have to talk about that. But we'll talk. So coming up next month in July, we'll pick up where we left off, and maybe we'll do the next decade. Maybe we'll go up to 2020 and right before the vid and misery, and go from there. At the moment, we will probably suspend this topic in August, because Dave and I usually do a SummerSlam themed show in August. So we may do that. But we'll see. We may continue doing this. Who knows? We'll get into that. Dave, always a pleasure. I love doing this with you. I love doing the show. It's awesome. It's one of my favorites here on our network. So go back to our archive and check out all of our past episodes. Check out all the stuff now that's here on the PTB Wrestling Network, and of course on the No-So and the Backbone, Jenny Position, the PTB Pop Experience. I've been seeing some interesting Chronoso matches popping up on the YouTube channel, Dave. Where are you at the moment?
Oh, where are we? we are on the build towards SummerSlam 1991. The for the 1991 element of Chronoso, and that's we've got some interesting stuff. We're starting to see some shifts happening. The most recent episode just sort of started to touch on a couple of shifts, but the next upcoming episode of 91 is going to see some major changes in character movements. One, Jake the Snake is going to be doing some major changes in his attitude. And in our 1984 line, we are at the back end of March 1984, getting ready to move into April. And we've just been starting to plan that. And there's some big stuff that happens in sort of the building into the summer of 84, but May, June 84 will just be there's some big stuff going on in the World Wrestling Federation at that time, which I think will be a great opportunity to be looked at. And I think most of that happens on Piper's Pit, and it involves a very, very famous celebrity. I'll just leave it at that. So we've got lots coming up.
We do have, you do, and I look forward to it in audio form and, of course, on the NoSo YouTube channel. All right, well, that'll do it. Have a great rest of your June. Happy Father's Day. Oh, well, it's after, as you listen to this, Father's Day was this past Sunday. Happy Father's Day to all the dads, as like you, Dave. All the grandfathers, and yes, to the godfathers too, and the podfathers, gods and pods. So enjoy the show. Enjoy all the shows coming up in the next months in WWE, AEW, TNA, etc. We'll go over that all on Main Event as well. And thanks for voting on the WrestleTracks ballot. We won't tell you what won. You'll have to check next week when Greg and I do the next WrestleTracks. So enjoy the rest of the month. We'll see you in July. For Dave, I'm Scott. You've been through the looking glass.